Welcome to the Black Country Business Podcast. I'm your coach, Lewis Haydon.
And I'm Kerry, Hopkins.
And today we're going to be talking about how to increase productivity and reduce stress. Does mindfulness have a place in business? Welcome, everybody. You are listening to the Black Country Business Podcast. And today we're going to be talking about how to increase productivity, yet also in a way that also reduces stress. Sometimes we talk about growing your business, and I'm coming from the angle today of a business owner, of the experience in this. I want to go out there, I want to grow my business, but I don't want to have more stress in my life as well. So I've actually invited one of our coaches, Kerry Hopkins, as well, who's an expert in mindfulness. So we're going to ask the question, what is mindfulness, and does mindfulness have a place in business? So I've got a bit of experience around mindfulness, but not as much as Kerry does. So Kerry, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. Nice to be here.
So give us a bit of a lowdown then. What is mindfulness? And we hear a lot about mindfulness, but what really is it?
Yeah, so it's an interesting one because mindfulness is everywhere, especially at the moment. So we've now even got on Netflix, you've got the Headspace have done features on Netflix, you've got lots of apps, and the majority of people associate mindfulness with meditation. And I think for some people, there's that image of having to spend an hour a day sitting cross-legged on the floor, meditating and being completely zen. But I think reality is that's not really all mindfulness is about. Meditation is just a small part of it. And part of the training that I did with mindfulness really helped me to understand really what its true value is. So if I read a definition for you, so John Kabat-Zinn about 40 years ago developed the mindfulness-based stress reduction program, which still runs today very successfully. Okay. And he defined mindfulness as paying attention in a particular way, on purpose, in the present moment, and non-judgmentally.
Okay.
Which, when you hear it, sounds really easy, right? We should all be able to do that.
It sounds a lot better than me sitting there on the floor in the middle of the office with my full lotus. Yeah,
exactly. So it sounds like something we should all be able to do, but of course life isn't like that. We're all busy, we've all got distractions at the moment, things are totally kind of out of our control. So how do we achieve that state of being present and in the moment all the time? It's hard to do. So what we can do with mindfulness is find other ways to do our daily activities. We can think about the way that we respond to things and act, and that in itself is being mindful without needing to do kind of a formal mindfulness practice.
Okay, cool. Some good benefits there. Then I get. What's one of the first things we can do to start being mindful?
I think one of the first things to think about is awareness. So we talk a lot in mindfulness about building our awareness muscle. So if you think about, if you go to the gym, you're doing training, you want to get more muscular, you train every day, you build up your practice, you get heavier weights, you do all of, I'm not a gym goer, so this could all be wrong, but those are things that you do to build your muscle. So if we think about that in terms of our awareness, it's about practicing every day, becoming more aware of what's happening around us, how we are as ourselves and how other people are as well. So it's about being aware of ourselves and how we respond to situations, how we react to things. Some things happen around us and we might instantly go to a negative place. Perhaps that's happened before, and so we associate that with something bad happening, so we automatically respond in a negative way. If we become more aware, we start to see triggers for things. Okay. So we can start to pick a better reaction. So if we are somebody who feels a bit anxious, and you recognize that you are an anxious person, what mindfulness allows you to do is spot the triggers. So you see when that's starting to creep in, and then you can make choose a different response. You can take yourself aware, you can do something that's going to lower that anxiety, rather than letting it consume you and become overpowering.
Yeah, I mean, so really useful for that. Just by saying that, then, because obviously I'm going to put this as a business owner sort of twist on this. So Black Country business owner, born and bred, and I hear things about mindfulness, and I see on the internet, and I'm like, mindfulness, really? Do I really see myself, like you mentioned, Kerry, sitting there cross-legged meditating in the middle of the day? But you've just put a twist on that, really. I can see some serious benefits in this mindfulness practice that you're talking about. So let's say from a leadership angle, for example, I'm about to go into a team meeting. I want to be making sure that I energize people and people are getting the most out of their day. But if I'm going in there, a hothead, stressed from somebody who may have scratched my car on the weekend, or somebody who's come into the office and left a lot of mud everywhere or something, like just the small little things, they can all play a part, can't they, in how I become reactive in my environment. So what you're saying is, with mindfulness, then you can actually be the person that would best suit that situation. Is that right?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think what it teaches you, if we go back to a really kind of simple definition that is often used with children and mindfulness, is you think of your mind as a snow globe. So we've all seen those things that you shake and all the snow goes everywhere. So if you think of that as your mind, we've had a good night's sleep, we haven't had any stress, everything's settled on the bottom, but then we have to get up. Like, say somebody might scratch your car, somebody's upset you at work, the snow starts to frantically go around in this snow globe. So what's happening with mindfulness is we're allowing our mind to settle, and then we can just focus on the one or two flakes that are still floating around that we really need to be focused on at that time. So if that's going into that meeting, you can reduce the stress, you can reduce the noise, and just focus on that thing that you need to go into. Now, how do you get into that state? Yes, meditation, possibly. You can meditate for a minute and it can help you to reduce your stress. You could take some deep breaths. Or if you know you're about to enter into a stressful situation, perhaps you go for a walk for 10 minutes, or you step away from the situation, go and get some fresh air, do something that you know is going to relax you and make you get that clarity. All of those things are being mindful because you're purposefully doing them in order to have a better response.
Wow. I've got a few questions around that then. I really like what you said about how to incorporate mindfulness into our lives. I mean, I use the context then of a business owner, but I've got business managers, sales managers, operation managers that work for me as well. Managers also need that, especially when working with their team, but salespeople too. Sometimes they can get into some stressful situations, and I guess if the customer doesn't have confidence that that salesperson can help them, then what's that going to do to the sale and that relationship too? For instance, if you're dealing, have you ever dealt with a hot-headed salesperson, Kerry?
Oh, right.
Well, how often do you keep going back to them if they're hot-headed?
Well, exactly. You never do.
Exactly, yeah. So somebody who's calm and collective and mindful, from what you're saying, is the word there. That could just have so much benefits to a business, couldn't it? Especially if they're customer facing, not just, and when I say customer, it could be inward customers like your team members, but also outward customer, your clients and the businesses that you're dealing with too. So what are the benefits of mindfulness have you come across?
Well, I mean, there's loads really, but if we just touch on a few. So obviously from a well-being perspective, it's proven to reduce stress, to reduce anxiety, and for some people can really help them to deal with pain as well. So it's got very much got a health and well-being element to it. I think if we look at it in terms of benefits from a business owner's point of view, one of the greatest things it does is improve our clarity and focus. So something that you and Andy have spoken about on podcasts and in webinars before, Lewis, is about being above the line and taking ownership and accountability of things. And really one of the greatest ways to do that and take responsibility is by being clear and focused on what you need to do, which is what mindfulness allows you, how it allows you to act. So instead of being stuck in kind of the denial side or we're making excuses all the time, we've got better clarity now. So maybe we can see what we need to do and we can actually get on and do that and be accountable for it. One of the other key things is improved performance. So if, again, relating it back to one of the models that we use at ActionCOACH, we've got performance equals potential minus interference. How do we know what those interferences are? We know we've all got them, and there's lots of obvious ones, but there's also things that are probably getting in our way that we're not necessarily aware of, and that's where mindfulness plays a part. By building this awareness muscle, we can start to recognise what those interferences are, and they could be things that we haven't even thought of. So perhaps a fear of something, or maybe we've got a limiting belief around what we're doing with work, and that's acting as an interference, but we don't always recognise that because we pick the obvious things like time, family, homeschool at the moment, all of these things that are getting in the way of us performing, but there's actually more to it, and sometimes uncovering that awareness helps us to see what those interferences are. And I think finally you just gain a better understanding of yourself just by slowing down a little bit. one thing that's really key to talk about here probably is autopilot. So we all do things without thinking. We get up every day, we make our morning coffee, we jump in our cars, we get somewhere, we wonder how on earth we've got there because it's something that we do all the time without thinking about it. If we slowed down and thought about those things, maybe we'd do them in a different way and understand how those things affect us. So it can be really beneficial in lots of different ways, especially in business.
Awesome. Yeah, I really like that. And what's going through my head at the moment then, Kerry, is that how does this apply to business owners that have staff working from home at the moment?
Well, it's really, really difficult for everybody, I think, with working from home. And I think one of the things that I would encourage people to do and encourage in their staff as well is to make sure they keep their energy levels high. So lifting your mood, finding things that you can do that make you feel more energized and motivated. Because I think when you're at home, you fall into that trap as well of, oh, I'll just put a load of washing on and I'll just do the ironing and, oh, I've got to do this. So I'll take a break. But you're not actually taking a break. You're going off to do something else that's probably zapping your energy, that's probably doing something that's making you feel maybe more stressed or something you hate doing, but it's got to be done. So it's putting you in a bad mood. And that's what we'd call a depleting activity. We can't remove those from our lives. We've all got to do things we don't like. But
Depleting activity.
Yeah. It's really interesting then to do the flip side of that and talk about nourishing activities. So what do we do that lifts our mood, increases our energy, makes us feel good? So if we're struggling, take 10 minutes out and go and do something that you know is going to nourish you, and do it mindfully. So make sure you're in the moment, you're really there, whether it's reading a book, going for a walk, having a bath, or a really long shower or something like that. Exactly. All these things that make you feel good and lift your mood. And the more of those things that you can do in a day, the better you're going to be, the better your performance is going to be, the more engaged you're going to be with what you're doing. So a really good test is to, over a 24-hour period, write down all your activities and then reflect back and go, how many of those have been depleting and how many are nourishing? And how do I make sure that I've got a better balance so I'm doing more nourishing things than I am depleting?
Wow. I mean, this here is that I loved when you talk about things like mindfulness and psychology, because if we think about it, performance of our results that we put out there, it's kind of like the results are the peak of the pyramid, but that pyramid needs some strong foundations, some real big blocks that it's built on. And that's the psychology and our well-being and mindfulness that builds on those blocks, because it's like this, isn't it? If you're not in a great state, or if you're not in a good place, then how can you perform at your optimum level if you're in that bad place? So I always think as well, and not just business owners, this was anything that we do, the fish stings from the head down. You know, if we are not performing at our best, then don't expect your team to perform at your best either.
Absolutely.
So this is real talk. And I always come from a peak performance aspect because that's my approach to business. So it's really cool to get another coach in here that's talking about this this mindfulness as planting the seed really for everything that happens in our lives, not just business. I guess this, talking from being at home as well, then obviously we've got a lot of pressures with, for me, I'm a dad, I'm a husband, I'm, not just a coach, I'm a business owner too. So you're having to wear all these hats all the time. Then what about the activities that are inside of them? Are they depleting or nourishing activities? So I think one thing I'll take away from talking to you today, Kerry, is how can I incorporate more nourishing activities into my day-to-day, into a busy schedule, into a diary, and actually pinpoint that in that diary. This is what I'm going to do at this point of the day. And just to relate this back to business as well, Kerry, this is really good because I love the idea that if you're not at your peak performance, don't expect other people to be. Don't expect results in your business to be. Every client that we have dashboards measuring test and measure of performance. And we can see from the client if they've had a bad week or not. And it's just like, okay, do you want to discuss this week? What happened? Sometimes it could be because of a problem, but sometimes it's just because people weren't in the right headspace to be focusing on results in the business. So what other things can you relate to mindfulness to business owners?
I think just picking up on your point there about the nourishing activities and with employees as well, I think sometimes we can misinterpret what a nourishing activity is for other people. So something that we find really nourishing for ourselves might not be for somebody else. And so when you're managing, make sure that, things that you're doing and that you're asking your employees to do are things that they enjoy. So there are going to be tasks that we all do that we don't want to, but find out from them what are the things that they really get their energy from and what they enjoy doing. Because if you can make sure, especially at the moment, that they're doing enough of those tasks that are really giving them that motivation to do the depleting activities, we're going to get better results from them. So I think it's important not to assume that because I find that an energizing and nourishing activity, everybody else will too. So make sure that as a kind of business leader or business owner, that you're understanding where your team are coming from in terms of what they get their energy from too. So you can just keep a track of that.
Yeah. Share some tips then on that then. What would you do as a business owner to find out more about what nourish activities look like for different people?
So I think one of the key things at the moment is, especially if you've got people who are working remotely, is making sure that you're having regular catch-ups with them. But don't just make those catch-ups about business. Talk to them, find out what they're doing, what are they finding really difficult at the moment, what are they enjoying, how are they spending their time. And once you recognize that, you can then start to make sure that they're building that into their day as well. And I think you can tell from if you do regular reviews with people, you'll be able to tell from their performance on certain tasks whether they enjoy them or not, because you're probably going to find they've got higher performance on things that they do enjoy. But just being open and honest, talking to people helps you to build the awareness of them as well as of yourself. So it comes down to the awareness again.
Yeah, really good. Yeah, I'm just relating what we do as coaches and our team members. We always have a 30-minute meeting every day, don't we, Kerry?
Absolutely.
Just to catch up, and it's quite interesting that the conversation isn't always about business. It's just like, coming from different angles. How are you? What sort of things are you? Just that one question. How are you doing? Sometimes there's an auto response to how are you doing, isn't it? Especially Australians, by the way. How you doing? That's about the worst Australian accent ever. I won't try and do that ever again on a podcast. But the auto response could come back with, yeah, I'm good, thank you. How are you? But do you ever turn around and go, no, really? How are you doing? I'm here to listen. Tell me more.
And this is that autopilot, isn't it? We ask those questions on autopilot and we respond on autopilot because it's easier, because we don't have to face those things that we are finding difficult. But once we can listen and we can really truly make space and time to have those conversations, we'll get different responses, and then we can choose a different way of working together, perhaps, or making a more, if somebody is really struggling that day, maybe ask the question, okay, so what are you going to do today that's going to boost your energy? What's that thing that we can do? I know there's the whole eat that frog philosophy of eat the biggest frog first, but maybe if somebody's really struggling, okay, so do something first that's going to really nourish you and make you feel energized for the rest of the day. Maybe you need to flip it if somebody's having a really bad day.
Wow. That's amazing. That's really amazing. And it's so critical now, especially with the whole remote working thing that's going on. People can just be on their own sometimes and just catching up on emails and getting on with the work. And just by listening to you for the last however long, Kerry, it's really highlighted that mindfulness is needed now more than ever. And so I heard something the other day in a piece of research. I read something about, it got quite philosophical, Kerry. It was talking about what is a business. And it's like, well, people are coming out with, well, it's there to make money, it's there to do this. But if you think about a business, really, there's an organization. An organization is a group of collective minds together, a group of collective people. And what keeps those collective people connected is communication, talking, conversations. So realistically, what is an organization? Well, it's the quality of an organization is the quality of conversations that are going on between them. And then organisation to another organisation, when you go and meet another business, that's the quality of conversation as well. How can you have a great conversation if you're not in a good place?
And that's why I think more and more businesses now are adopting mindfulness as part of what they do, especially in America. It's been happening for a long time, where people have allowed their employees time to have mindfulness. They've done group exercises, they've done all of these things, because it does make a difference to people's productivity, to their attitude, to their levels of engagement. So why would we not be spending 15 minutes a day making sure that somebody's okay and that they've done something that makes them feel more relaxed and less stressed? Because that means we're going to get much more from them for the rest of the day than we would if we ignored it.
Spot on. And that's the perfect opportunity, Kerry, to now promote our new group coaching class, which is new yoga group coaching with.
Yeah, absolutely. All come with your mat, ready to cross legs and your incense.
But I do see a lot of large organizations. My brother's a yoga teacher, and he's been approached by training companies to offer yoga classes within businesses. I don't want to go down that hot idea of yoga and meditation and things, but that is a very similar aspect, isn't it?
Absolutely. And it is a huge part of mindfulness. I think the thing that I've taken most from what I've learned, as I said at the beginning, is that this isn't just about meditation. It becomes a way of life and a way of living. And there's the 7 attitudes of mindfulness, which is something that John Kabat-Zinn developed. Okay. And they're things that you can do and kind of live your life by that make you naturally more mindful.
Well, what are they?
Things like non-judgment. So we will all make judgments about everything during a day. So most people who've listened to this podcast will have made a judgment whether they're going to enjoy it or not based on the title of the podcast. But if we removed all of those judgments from our day and stopped trying to pick things as good, bad, or indifferent, we could behave in a different way. We could choose to take action in a different way. We would maybe see things for the first time that we'd not noticed before and be able to look at things with an open mind. The second one, of course, is patience. So that's patience with ourselves and with others. So making sure that we're giving ourselves some time. And I think at the moment, this is crucial because we're all going through so much change. Businesses, on a personal level, things keep changing, the goalposts keep moving. And we're all expected to adjust within 24 hours to, work from home from tomorrow and that's it. Well, it doesn't work like that. We're humans, it takes us time to adapt to change. And so we have to be patient with ourselves and also accept that other people are going to respond in their own time and be patient with them too. Beginner's mind, I think, is one of my favourites. So willing to see things as if for the first time. So almost like being in a childlike state of, well, I've never seen this before. So what could be different about it? What's new? What haven't I noticed? Maybe there's something in a work scenario, you do something all the time, but you look at it differently, as if you're seeing it for the first time. Perhaps you pick up a new idea or a new innovation or something that you haven't seen because you've been so used to looking at it in a certain way. Things like trust. So being able to trust our feelings and that famous gut instinct, we so often can ignore it, but trusting in ourselves is a really big thing. Non-striving is an interesting one too, because we're kind of conditioned from an early age to go to school, get good grades, pass driving tests, go and get a job, get a promotion, get more money, all of these things. But actually, this isn't about saying don't have those goals. It's about saying don't focus on them so much that you miss the opportunities that are happening right in front of you that are going to get you to those goals anyway. Because if you're always fighting for the next thing, you miss what's happening now, and that's that being in the moment. And then we've got our last two are acceptance. So accepting things as they are, not saying that you're always okay with that. Sometimes you don't have to like it, but accepting that you can't change it and that there are some things that we don't have control over, that we can't change, that really we just need to let go of. And that's our final one, is letting go. So being in that, as humans, we very easily hold on to negative thoughts, negative memories, things that have happened. We hold them really, really easily compared to the positive things. But if we can learn to let go of that negativity, we can naturally lead a more positive and more kind of energizing life. So those are simple things that you can live your life by, that don't take a lot of energy, that don't take a lot of effort, but allow you to be more mindful.
Awesome. That's really cool. And after this podcast, that I'm going to go back and listen to those. So the 6 or 7 points there, they're the alternative, aren't they? You mentioned at the start, you don't have to sit there cross-legged, full lotus position and meditate. But you just mentioned 6 or 7 things there that any business person, professional can do at any point in the day. So they're really cool. Absolutely awesome. So just to wrap this up then, Kerry, if people out there do want to find more about mindfulness and the sort of psychology and behavior, how do they find out more?
Well, I mean, we know there's loads of information online about these things. I think what I would say is go to trusted resources, because there's a lot of things out there that potentially aren't going to help you. There's lots of apps that you can use if you do want to go down meditation route, or look up a course. There's lots of courses around. There's lots of people who do. So there's the mindfulness-based stress reduction. There's other courses that run. Pick something that somebody's got a qualification, because I think there's a lot of people out there doing it potentially haven't done any kind of formal training. So make sure you're getting something that's valued. But also from a business perspective, we're starting to see how these attitudes link very well with coaching and with helping people. So get in touch with us if you've got questions, and we can help to point you in the right direction. Yeah,
really good. So as a business owner, time, money, what goes through my head, and not just my head, I'm pretty sure a lot of business owners that listen to this right now. So I'd want to know the things that are really applicable to my business. And that's what I find is useful for coaching, is that we can filter through not just the education, but this mindset stuff is very useful when it comes to this. I'm just wondering, Kerry, if we should put a webinar on or something like that we could use my experience from coaching, your experience from coaching, your experience in mindfulness, and make it precise of what Black Country business owners could use.
Yeah, absolutely. I think there's a real synergy between a lot of the kind of the coaching methods and models that we've got within Action Coach and with mindfulness. And I think that would be a great way of getting people to see the link up between the two.
Okay, cool. So any listeners that are listening right now, if you do want to do that, we'll do that, Kerry. We'll put a mindfulness webinar on, because I find this is really useful and really critical for business owners and their employees right now. So we could put something together and get it out there for free for any of the listeners. If you are interested in that, just drop us an email. Look in the show notes, you'll find our email, and we can send you the link to that webinar as well, and we'll put it on social media. Alternatively, why not pick up the phone and speak to Kerry or myself if you have any mindfulness questions that you want to ask. And I always like this idea, Kerry, of talking with Black Country business owners about this, because for me, when you mentioned mindfulness at the start, I was like, California, big tech companies over there, I'm a Black Country business owner. How does that apply in my world? But I really can see how this can help people. So if we can get more value out there to people that are having challenges right now, or just want to, not just from a pain point of view, but towards moving towards their vision, how they can get towards their goals using mindfulness, and that'll be really useful.
I think there's so much of it that relates to that. And like we said, removing the interference and just getting clear. And one of the big things that we do in coaching, of course, is provide space for people. And that's what mindfulness does. It provides you the space to have the clarity of thought and thinking that you won't have done before. So these are things that are crucial to anybody in life and in business.
Yeah, just to add on to that, if Andy was here right now, he would say this, wouldn't he? And we got you on Zoom while you're recording this. I can see the smile come on your face there now. So how many great thoughts do you have when you are running around on fire in your business, doing the day-to-day stuff? Yeah, not many. And then when you're sitting on the beach on holiday, how many great thoughts do you have about how you can grow your business? What if you was to do that and have those great thoughts week in, week out, went away and put the actions around it? What would your business look like in a year's time, in 52 weeks' time? Yep. Totally different place, wouldn't it? Even if out of those 50 weeks, only 10 of them was very, very effective, then that would be a totally different business as well. So when you go back to that idea of creating space within a coaching session, yeah, on a deeper level, you are absolutely right.
Yeah, it makes us a difference to be able to do that, because so rarely do we slow down enough to be able to have that time. And that's what we're trying to learn through mindfulness, is that we don't need to be a million miles an hour all the time. And we get into that habit because we feel like that's what we should be doing. We're business owners, so of course we should be working 60 hours a week because that's what we need to do because we own a business. Well, we know that that's not that's not the case. And so why can't we find time for that space and clarity?
Perfect. Thank you, Kerry, for coming on and sharing about mindfulness. And let's get that webinar kicked off and shared to the listeners.
Brilliant. That'd be great. Thanks, Lewis.